But we start tonight with the big story out west. The disintegration, Caro, of the once mighty West Coast Eagles and their plight, and the angst is growing quickly around the football club.
It is, Craig, and the situation now that we reach the closing stages of the home-away season has become a lot firmer in my mind. The first casualty, I believe, will be the CEO, the AFL's longest-serving CEO, Trevor Nisbett, despite the fact that Trevor is contracted until the end of 2024 and it's been written that he would leave at the end of 2024. My belief is that the board will move on Trevor Nisbett at the end of this season. I think it'll be a respectful parting of the ways, and I'm not even sure that Trevor Nisbett would be hugely surprised that there has to be a scapegoat. The story all year, I guess, has been Matthew and Kane that it'll be the coach or the CEO. There has to be one big scalp. I'm now not so sure that Adam Simpson will survive. I thought that he might because of his huge contract and the fact that they'd have to pay him out for 2 years, and although they're a very wealthy club, they seem unwilling to go over their soft cap in any radical way. I think the Carlton result was almost made the minds of some board members believe that this has just got to change. And huge disappointment in the senior players particularly, and I'm talking about guys like Gaff and Darling and Yo, who just have been really disappointing and out of form. You know, Natanui out of form. Bizarrely, I think will stay on the senior list, certainly to the start of next year's pre-season before they make a call on Nick Nat.
You're forecasting a clean out though. CEO, coach,
several assistant,
and several of the
several
senior
assistant
players.
coaches. Several assistant coaches. I think we'll hear Shannon Hurn will probably retire from footy in the coming weeks, and I'm not sure Luke Shuey is going to go on next year. Now I think he could.
So that's a full-scale clean the decks.
And I think the medical team is going to be looked at too. And I know there's already been one big casualty in high performance, but I don't think that's over either. But the big one is Trevor Nisbett, who has been there for a quarter of a century as CEO and was head of footy for the first premierships as well. I just think that in the end he has to pay the price for what's gone on. It's extraordinary and ironical, I guess, that last week at the CEO's meeting, he, along with other clubs, fought really strongly with Andrew Dillon about the soft cap being lifted. He might have been fighting for his own footy club because Andrew Dillon is now looking at not only maybe rewarding senior coaches or lifting the soft cap more than they say next year, but also reducing the tax.
As an aside, he should be fighting the other way, that it stays low and that he has the means to spend the tax. That'd tell you create a competitive advantage. It's a strange argument. It's a collective competition argument.
Explain that, Hutchie.
Well, they've got the means. They've got money. No one's got money. No one's got their kind of money. Not
you mean they should just pay the tax?
Pay the tax.
Well, it sounds like that's what they're going to do.
They're arguing to reduce the tax.
Why would you be arguing for everyone else's behalf? Like if you've got the means, you just pay the tax and create the competitive advantage.
Because a lot of the poorer clubs aren't arguing that way.
So, Karen, just on what you've just said, I thought it would take an independent review probably for things like this to happen, for somebody to come in outside of the West Coast Eagles to say, Trevor, your time's up. Adam, your time's up. But it's interesting that it's come from their own board.
You don't need
my view, and I think this is probably the view. Simpson must know now he's in trouble. And he knows that the board, this is a board with a new chairman, Paul Fitzpatrick, who need to be seen to be making some tough decisions as well as need to make tough decisions.
And don't underestimate the role of the owner in this, the West Australian Footy Commission.
And I'm not ruling out a review. I'm just saying that I think now that despite having a year to go, Trevor Nisbett will go this year, and I think Adam Simpson could well go too.
You can understand that, Caro. Unfortunately for them, because this is the numbers they're dealing with. This is the since the 1950 year, this is the third worst season in the history of our game. So that's obviously 70 odd years that is. So 1 win, 17 losses, and 48%. So that's just. That's one less win than the Giants in their first
season.
And that's just this year. I mean, you can go back 2.5 years. Like, this isn't just a this year problem.
It's a resourced-funded football club.
For 3 years, it's incredible.
The coach has to pay a price for that, particularly if senior players have been allowed to lose fitness, as you've talked about many times, and in the view of senior club people now, lose the hunger pretty much since 2018 and worse after COVID.
Yeah, there's a lot in this, and when you compare who they're playing against, like, they're not young either. This isn't the Giants, which Lordo just highlighted in their first year. This is a team that they're actually older than on the weekend, and the concern around the footy club is that Adam Simpson last week was steadfast that they don't lose their best players. Let's have a listen to him, but I think there's an exodus coming as we listen also to Nick Geeshan, the manager of Tom Barrass.
One thing I do know about West Coast is their finals percentage is probably top 3 or 4 in the last 30 years. The 4 premierships, most financially stable club in the country, and we just ticked over 100,000 members. So it's not the worst club to go to, and we don't lose too many players once we get them.
Like Tom's, you know, he's got 4 years to run. Look, you never say never, but for now, he's very settled in Perth. He's just had his second baby. Right now, I'd say no, but again, we'll see what happens.
Why would you stay? I mean, that's the lack of talent coming through with their drafting. But if you're Barras, you've got big offers coming from someone like a Sydney, you would get out of that place. I look at Oscar Allen playing fullback against Charlie Curnow, not where he wants to be. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't request a trade at the end of the year, Lordo. But that's their recent recruits, and there's not much coming through.
What if they say, what's he worth? So I think he's just probably their second best player, Barras, behind Oscar Allen at the moment, with the way he's playing and performing. So I'd be happy to let most go, but not him. For a first rounder, is it worth? I'd be holding him, wouldn't you?
Oscar Allen?
No, I'm saying Tom Barras.
Depends.
Yeah,
If he's steadfast that I want out of this place, I think they've got no option but to trade him. So we'll wait and see on this. But I wouldn't, famous last words with Adam Simpson there. And also the way that he's carrying himself, he's been a poor ambassador for the club. And I say that this is why I think they need a circuit breaker. He's starting to treat journalists pretty disrespectfully.
So the move to put Brady Hoff on Curnow at the start, was that just out of necessity, or why wasn't Bazzo starting on him?
We thought Hoff could do a job on him.
Allen obviously went back then after in the second quarter. Was that just out of necessity?
Yeah, we kicked 3 in the first. So.
Do you think you can get Tom Barras and Jeremy McGovern back for that clash?
Hope so.
50-50 or?
I don't know. I haven't put a figure on it. But yeah, hopefully get them both back.
How did that sort of happen? Do you have any sort of explanation as to why they didn't start well?
Not at the moment.
So it's pretty ordinary, Caro. They need a coach with energy who's going to be a better ambassador for the footy club and to actually tell the fans what they're doing to fix this. And this is the journalist that was asking those questions.
Yeah, Mitchell Woodcock, who travels with the club, well, not with the club, but he's travelled to all the West Coast games outside Perth. It was a pretty scathing article about how he was disrespected in the workplace.
Do you think he was?
Well, I think it's a mixture of a coach incredibly frustrated and incredible, and how some of those questions is hard to answer. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't one of Adam's best performances. It was pretty scathing, wasn't it? And I don't know the history between the two. It's obviously not great in recent weeks. But why would you treat someone with contempt like that? Because as Mitchell pointed out in his column, he's treating his fans with contempt. And, of course, West Coast might decide to make the Barras decision themselves, given the currency they might feel they get from him and their needs into this new reset.
They could do that.
Yeah,
yep.
They could.